The music. My girlfriend was like all overjoyed with the music. Dune. Been waiting for this one for a while. Directed by Dilly, Denis Villeneuve. Finally came out based off the book. Been widely anticipated for a while now. I saw it last night. What did I think about it? I am of a very weird opinion about this film. I really liked it. I really did. The words that best describe it are what you're honestly hearing. It encompasses the sci-fi epic. It very much is the sci-fi epic. It's also pretty dense. It's not kind of like Inception, where if you just turn around for a second, you'll miss something. But they're throwing out terms, ideologies that they explain, but if you don't hear the explanation, then you will maybe be a little bit lost. It's also a lot of lore, a lot of character. There's a lot going into this film. And while I appreciate so much about it, I'm not overblown. I'm not blown away, I guess is the better way to put it. I'm not blown away by it. I'm hearing a lot of people just going, wow, it's so good. It's amazing. I'm like, yeah, it was good. It was really good. I don't feel like I'm just overwhelmed or anything though by it. And I'm trying to quantify why that is. And I think what it is that A, I didn't read the book. So there's that. But B, and more importantly, I think the hype has just been built too much for it. There's a lot going into this that I did love. Some of it I love, some of it I like. Some of it like, okay. I like the world of Arrakis and the world of this universe. The whole idea that, interstellar travel is like easy thanks to the spice that on Arrakis. The characters are all likable in their own way. I will say that Timothée Chalamet at first came off very just dull, but I think that's the kind of the point, that he's very conflicted and he's a teen. Timothée Chalamet is one of those guys who both him and Tom Holland are both examples of this where they look in their they're in their 20s. I know that, but they look in their teens. This is going to be interesting to see what happens when these guys age into their 30s. Look what happened to me. But it's one of those things where I get what they're doing with the character. I do get it. He's supposed to be this, this special guy. He's a special one. He's a special guy. He's special, and he's trying to be cultivated and nurtured. But he's also a teen. He's also angsty and all that. Jason Momoa is a lot of fun in this. You love watching Jason Momoa. He's a badass in this film. Same with Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin's real fun. Oscar Isaacs, Rebecca Ford, everyone's great. Baron Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, he's delightfully gross in many ways. Drax, Dave Bautista, he's not in it a lot, but when he is in there, you get the impression that Dave Bautista's character is actually going to be playing a bigger part in the second movie. And they do kind of make a mistake in not advertising this as part one. It is part one, and they make sure to tell you in the opening title sequence it's part one, but they don't advertise it as such. So when it ends, if they didn't put the part one there, and when it ends where it ends, I've heard people say the ending is kind of abrupt, and I could understand that if they didn't know this was supposed to be a setup for another movie. But because they did put part one in there, the ending didn't feel abrupt to me. Characters or actors that we know are in the movie that don't show up a lot but are important, at least don't show up a lot in this movie. Zendaya, you see her all over the trailer, but she really is only kind of spaced and sprinkled throughout the movie. She's not a very big player in this movie. It's clear though she's going to be a bigger player down the line. Javier Bardem is kind of the same way, though he does have more screen time than Zendaya and more lines and dialogue, all that. And he's actually a lot of fun. The action sequences are pretty impressive. The effects work is really great. The effects on the worm are awesome. I love the scene where we first see the worm is really cool. It's a really cool sequence. Uh, as someone who watches sci-fi a lot, who watches anime a lot, who watches a lot of these things, I was able to follow along pretty effectively. I didn't have that much of an issue. That said, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a couple things that I don't know, irked, didn't sit well, isn't right, just didn't gel with me. I'm not. The whole Bene Gesserit's thing, like these Illuminati-esque figures behind the scenes, and then there's these group of women who have who are very mysterious and all that. I get them and I understand them in terms of what they're supposed to be. I wasn't a big fan of them, to be honest. The stuff that they like bring to the table that involves Paul, the main character, I did like that. But if I'm gonna be honest, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want anything to do with these people. But there's that. I'll say this: while it's visually stunning and the music is great, this is weirdly, and maybe it's just the theater we were in, but we went because I have a Cinemark. We don't have an AMC or an IMAX. We went to our Cinemark, so they have the XD screen, which is huge, surrounds. Oh, it's still big. But the sound, maybe it's the mixing, or maybe it was the speakers. But it was such a big theater with such a lot of speakers that it actually was causing the theater to vibrate and causing my inner ear to vibrate a bit with some of the noise going on. There's some mixing issues, I think, in this film, just a little bit. Because there's times when you're meant to hear something, kind of the same problem that Tenet had, actually, where you're meant to hear something and it's very difficult to hear it. And there's sometimes where, I'm not going to say exactly what how the scene goes, because even though the books existed forever, or for a long time, decades now, that doesn't mean people have read the book. Because I haven't read the book. But there's a scene involving Oscar, I'll say it like this. There's a scene involving Oscar Isaac where he does say something, but you don't really hear what he says. Though I guess you're supposed to imply that you could hear it, but I didn't hear it. But so yeah, there were some times where I'm like, I couldn't hear everything going on. But still, it's a great high concept fantasy world. The world is very fleshed out. A lot of their tech is very interesting. The dragonfly shaped ships are cool. You got these balloon-esque carriers for bigger like harvesting things. To avoid the worms who are basically just giant monster worms. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I would say I do recommend the film. I do recommend the film. It is 2.5 hours, and I will say it feels the 2.5 hours, but in a way that's good. Like you're getting your money's worth of entertainment out of it. Like I never checked my watch or anything. I don't have a watch, but I never checked my phone. I know my girlfriend was checking once or twice, but it was one of those things where I was feeling the length, but I was invested enough that I didn't care. I'm just wondering, like, when is this going to end? Exactly. What's the ending point here? So yeah, there's that. Ultimately, though, I do recommend the film. It's got some minor flaws, aren't the right term. It's got some minor things here or there that didn't work for me, but that doesn't mean I think they wouldn't work for you or anyone you recommend it to. So I still very much recommend the movie, though. There's way too much positive that outweighs all the very minor complaints. So yeah, there weren't many new trailers, though we did get the Uncharted trailer. That was pretty cool. The Batman trailer. I've already seen the Batman trailer plenty of times, but the Batman trailer was awesome. Watching on the big screen. I was surprised, wondering if we were going to even get the Batman trailer because it's a WB film. It's a Warner Bros. Film. Yet the first two trailers we got were Disney products. We got Encanto and the Eternals. So I'm like, But anyway, I digress. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Now I was gonna go see Ron's Gone Wrong tonight, but I'm honestly not. I was out for a while several years back with a sprained muscle, a pulled muscle, and that's been acting up recently, and it's just making me feel very sore, and I'm kind of in pain, if I'm going to be honest. Not anything serious, but I'm not feeling up to going out. Maybe like in the next couple days, I'll go out to go see. Maybe tomorrow I'll go see Ron's going on when I get done with work, because I do want to see it, because A, I was asked to see it by the person who asked me to see the animated films, but B, I was probably going to see it regardless. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll do it Thursday as like a double feature with Antlers. Talking about a weird double feature, but I do hope to see Antlers on Thursday next week, along with One Night in Soho. Until then, though, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.